Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of InvestorIdeas.com Climate Change and Clean Tech Podcast. In today's podcast, I interview Hanno Schocklitz, the founder and CEO of Kaiserwetter Energy Asset Management, regarding investing in the renewable energy sector, as well as the future of the industry and his company's role in advancing the industry's data development. So today I'm speaking with Hanno Schocklitz, who's the CEO and founder of Kaiserwetter. Hanno, it's great to be able to talk to you. Could you tell me a little bit for our listeners who are unfamiliar with you and your company about you as well as the company background?
Taylor, thanks for this nice intro. Yeah, of course I will do. I'm heading a company which is called Kaiserwetter. Kaiserwetter is dedicated to doing data analytics as a service for renewable energies. That means we are, using the data coming out of wind farms and solar parks and providing analytics to our clients, which are in the end banks, which are investors, which are then using all this data to enhance their own business model. At the end, it's all about how we can catalyze investments in renewable energies on a global basis. That means all the data analytics what we are providing should it be used by our clients to minimize their investment risk and maximize their returns. And this is what we have as Kaiserwetter invented over the last couple of years by transforming our company into a full digital company and providing exactly this data analytics. Me personally, I'm the founder of Kaiserwetter, and I'm in renewable energy since 7 years now, almost 8 years, and we are originally coming out of doing the hard asset management of wind farms and solar parks, and then have invented this new idea to be a full digital company, and this is where we currently are.
So with your company sort of objective and what you're doing with these data analytics for the renewable energy, was that something that was being utilized before? And I guess what's the reach or scale that you have as far as how much data do you have access to, and how influential can this be for those investors to utilize?
Taylor, when we started to, I think we are pretty much one of the front runners in this respect, as we started 3-4 years ago having this idea. And then we teamed up with SAP, and SAP is one of the global tech companies as well in not only in providing ERP solutions, but also doing a lot of digital stuff and providing cloud services. We teamed up with SAP and said, okay, how we can reuse IoT, and we could this all Internet of Things approach to connect wind farms and solar parks, and storing all this data and finally in the in-memory database, which of course is really fast in doing all this analytics. And therefore, we are aggregating the technical data from wind farms and solar parks, but especially we are also integrating in our database. And this IoT platform is called Aristoteles. In Aristoteles, we are also storing the financial data. And I think this is one of these great things, that we're not just concentrating on the technical data, but also on the financial data. And then you're performing all this analytics, smart data analytics, but also using machine learning as one of these artificial intelligence setups for the future, providing predictive analytics. And with this predictive analytics, of course, we are capable to analyze potential technical failure coming up and to avoid downtimes of machines. And I think this is, of course, the future. We all would like to see how we can really predict the things based on artificial intelligence.
So you're primarily focusing on wind and solar energy right now. Is there going to be an inclusion of other types of renewable energy sources as well, or is it going to be strictly for the wind and solar farms?
No, we of course open as well, and we are on the way as well to include hydropower stations, and we will do this as well for biomass, biogas, and geothermal. So at the end, it's all about how you connect the assets and how you really get this machine-to-machine connectivity, as we call it, how we connecting our database, Aristoteles with the machine itself, and getting out the data from the SCADA systems, which are in event installed on site of the assets. So in such a way, then we are streaming out our data. I think the most important thing is that we are not mounting an edge device. So we're doing this really by installing or have built up Docker containers, which are then directly linked to each of the systems on site.
So for the investing side of this, what is an investor going to really get out of the access to this data, and how can they utilize that to actually make a profit off of what's going on with renewable energy, what's going on with climate change and climate data as well? What's the easiest way for them to actually access this and turn it into funds, and is that the objective, and how does that get reached?
Yeah. As I just mentioned at the beginning, I think especially for investors, and when we are talking about investors, we are talking once on the equity side, those are the real investors who are putting capital equity in there, but we're also talking about financing banks who are providing, of course, the financing to making all these investments. And all this capital side, especially investors as well, they would like to maximize, of course, their returns, and they would like to minimize the risk. Maximizing return, it will be done by ourselves as we are taking the data from a technical point of view. We are modeling power curves. So each of the machine has a certain power curve. That means has to have a baseline for its production. We're modeling this baseline based on real data. Then, of course, we can permanently, for our algorithm, watch out if this baseline is met or not, or if we see any deviation. And then we can, of course, put measures in place, and we can look, your machine or your wind turbine is not working on a maximum. So please do this, that you get really the maximum out of your investments. And in such a way, we, of course, increasing the IRR and their capital returns. And I think this is exactly what, of course, investors would like to see. On the other hand, of course, I think it's great for financing and lending banks. Then in such a way, of course, they are also maximizing cash flow, which of course is as well in their one of the most important things to see what's going on. So at the end, we are providing to our clients analytics in dashboards in the front end. And I think the great thing is by doing data analytics as a service and based on data, that we are not limited to software. So we are really using data and making this analytics, making, all these comparisons, but we also, of course, using all this mathematics behind to get an added value out of this data, which is then, of course, shown in dashboards to our clients. And of course, we are also customizing all the things. That means if our clients would like to have certain KPIs, we of course including these KPIs in the front ends. In such a way, we were providing this to our clients, and I think it's really quite important as well to mention that everything what we do IoT and we do analytics is not just building kind of front end as this has of course much more. I think by getting this data by creating a structured database, at the end it's all about how you take all this unstructured data and turning unstructured data to structured data and having a database which is then used for further analytics. And I think this is one of these big things what we are doing. But as well with this, you can build on, your risk assessment, what you have to do for internal usage could be done a different way. That means at the end, all your controlling organizational setup could be streamlined. The portfolio management teams could also be handling much bigger portfolios with the same headcount. So at the end, it's not just, you putting, as I just mentioned, colored front ends in place. No, it has much deeper impact by putting IoT structures, analytics stuff based on data in place in organizations.
Is there also going to be an element, because you have this advanced technology as well as access to all this data and analytics, will there be somewhat of a predictive data element to it as well, where it'll be able to forecast certain elements that are likely to come up and certain problems that are likely to ensue?
Yeah, definitely. We are currently working on this machine learning setups really to predict potential features coming out, of components. And we are particularly currently doing this for wind turbines, where we can easily say, okay, yeah, look, watch out, with different components. And by watching out the data from the past, learning from the past for the future, and having then our algorithms in there and really then make this analytics what's coming. I think it's really super interesting for the predictive analytics. On the other hand as well, what we are going for the next step is what we can do on the augmented analytics side. And I'm a big fan of augmented analytics, and augmented analytics, of course, needs as well a lot of data, but also using machine learning or deep learning setups to get in the final really the results out of augmented analytics. And therefore, augmented analytics and predictive analytics is for us, of course, the future. And we will see a lot of possibilities handling all this enormous amount of data, which is day by day or month by month really increasing. And therefore, we have to find ways to perform analytics and using this data for certain purposes for the future.
Being as you're someone who's probably paying at least closer attention than I am to some of the capital that is coming into the renewable energy space, how much has that changed over the last couple of years, and how much does that need to change for this industry to really take off to the level we want it to?
Well, I think it's already changed a lot. And I think, currently it was a bit slowing down. From slowing down a bit, but of course, seeing, okay, the subsidy is not really the right way to do for the future. And I think everything has been done in the right way, as well in Germany or in other countries, United States as well. We have some tax credits and tax advantages. I think everything has been made in a good way, but realizing at the end that coming back to what I had mentioned before, we have to see that this market approach and the energy price which are currently on the market has to be the basis for all these further investments. And I see as well that the currently the turning around, that I think it's obviously you have to do much more doing investments by getting off of the carbon emission free power generation future. And we have to do this. And I think it's obviously that the increase of the temperature and all these impacts what we have facing here, we all as human beings, will be really tough. And I think there's not that much choice left as really put the things ahead. And as well, I think we see it also in the financing and in the capital environment, and that the people are really knowing that and realizing it, that we have to push the things ahead. And I think therefore we are on a good way, as much more people, more companies are really seeing this as the crucial things for the future. Even there are still guys out there or folks out there which are not really believing in it, but I think this in the end will be a minority, and therefore we have to keep really the things pushing.
I was wondering as well, because obviously we're talking about, capital investments and that side, the business side of the aspect as well. But you did mention that, there's also elements of taxes and government policies that play some factor as well. Are you working hand in hand with some different authorities as far as access to some of the data that you have, which would support more efficient renewable energy protocols, which would also support a lot of the data of what's happening with climate change and different things like that? Is that something that you're working towards as well?
We're not there, but of course we hopefully soon be there, by getting much more data and connecting more assets to Aristoteles and to our database. And of course then, teaming up with all these gentlemen, I think it's super important for the future as well, how we can really use the data and how we can take this for further usage, and especially as well, what we are doing by on a global point of view, by getting all this data into Aristoteles. Of course, we can then use as well to enrich climate models and all this kind of stuff, as we are getting really wind speeds in different locations, worldwide sectors. So I think there are interesting things coming up by getting the data in there, and there might be also, this is also what we have and I personally have learned over the last couple of years, digital innovation as innovation that definitely never stops. And when you open one door, there comes two further doors, and then you have to decide to go through the next door. And if you pass in the next door, there are coming for sure new ideas to further three doors in front of you. And I think this is really the great thing by stepping in all this data analytics and using data for our future. And I think therefore we are here and prepared as well to push this ahead.
Thank you so much for talking today. Exactly. It was fantastic. Once again, that was Hanno Schock-Lietz, founder and CEO of Kaiserwetter Energy Asset Management. For more information about Kaiserwetter, you can click the links attached in the article or visit them at www.kaiserwetter.energy. That's all for today's podcast. Enjoy the rest of your day.